I found a letter under our bed. It was addressed to my wife, from the man she told me never to worry about. I wasn't looking for it. I was just cleaning. That morning, Emily had rushed off to her yoga class, her favorite Saturday ritual, and I figured I'd surprise her by finally vacuuming under the bed. But what I found wasn't dust or an old sock. It was a letter, folded neatly, tucked beneath the mattress, addressed in handwriting I didn't recognize, but signed with a name I could never forget. Yours always, Cole. My heart didn't just skip a beat. It stopped, not because I didn't know who Cole was, but because Emily had sworn he was just a friend from work, one of those guys she made clear I should never worry about. So why the hell was he writing her handwritten letters? I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the words. It wasn't a new letter. The edges were creased like it had been read many times. There were underlined phrases, circled words. One sentence hit like a bullet. I miss the nights we had before you married him. Before you married him? I was him, now, just him, in a sentence that felt like a punch to the ribs. My throat dried. My hands shook. I felt like I'd walked into someone else's home. Emily and I had been married for 5 years. We had a son, Luke, who just turned 4. I built our life with her, brick by brick, memory by memory. And now this? I kept rereading the letter, hoping I was misunderstanding. Maybe it was from before we got married. Maybe it was just something she kept for closure. Maybe it didn't mean what I thought. But then, the date on the bottom killed every excuse I was grasping for. January 14, this year. 2 months ago. That was around the time she started locking her phone. Around the time she started staying late to work on presentations. Around the time she laughed less, kissed me shorter, stopped looking me in the eyes when saying, "I love you." I put the letter back, exactly where I found it. Not because I forgave her, but because I needed more. Proof, answers, a plan. And then it hit me. If she was hiding something, she'd hide more than just a letter. I needed to check her messages, her location, every detail she never thought I'd notice. If she was cheating, I wasn't going to confront her in the dark. I was going to shine AF *****ing spotlight. But the real question is, how far would you go? If you knew your whole marriage might be built on a lie? And what if you found out that the betrayal didn't stop with your wife? That same night, Emily came home humming, like nothing in the world was wrong, like she hadn't spent her morning leaving a love letter from another man under our bed, like I hadn't just watched my entire trust in her collapse in slow motion. She kissed me on the cheek, asked me how my day was. I lied, she lied, we smiled. Our son Luke ran in with his stuffed dinosaur, laughing, yelling about something he saw on TV. She scooped him up, spun him in her arms. I watched them, the two people I loved more than anything, but suddenly, I didn't recognize one of them. That night when she fell asleep, phone clutched in her palm as always. I waited until her breathing softened, until her grip loosened just enough. And then I did what no one wants to admit they've done. I unlocked her phone. She had changed the password months ago, told me it was for privacy. But what she didn't remember was that she once used the same code on our shared iPad, a code I hadn't forgotten. Luke's birthday, 0609. I typed it in and the screen lit up. "Welcome, Emily." My heart pounded so loudly I was sure she'd wake up. I opened her messages, started scrolling. Most were innocent texts with moms from the preschool group chats. But then I saw his name, Cole M. Not saved as Cole, not saved as work, just Cole M. I tapped the thread, and my stomach dropped. Dozens of messages, photos, voice notes. "Miss you already. Wish you were the one I woke up next to. When are we doing our weekend again?" But then one message stood out from the rest. "Cole, did you tell him yet?" And her reply, "Emily, not yet. He's been sweet lately. I don't want to hurt him until I'm sure." Until she's sure? Of what? That she wants to leave me? That she wants to leave Luke? I felt like my skin was on fire. I had to get out of the room, but just as I turned to leave, something else caught my eye. A photo sent 3 days ago. It was blurry, a mirror selfie, Emily wearing nothing but a hotel robe, and in the background, a suitcase, not hers, his. My wife had gone to a hotel 3 days ago. She told me she was at a conference. She kissed me goodbye. She hugged our son and went to him. Suddenly, everything snapped into place. The late meetings, the dead phone batteries, the girl nights that never had proof. But then, just as I was about to close the thread, one final message loaded. Cole, I think it's time. I can't keep playing second place. He doesn't even know about us. About Luke. About Luke? What the hell did that mean? Was he just talking about their relationship? Or was he saying something else? Something far worse? And then Emily stirred in bed. I froze, the phone still in my hand, my pulse hammering in my ears. I slipped it back under her pillow, sat on the edge of the bed, staring into the dark, and just one question looped in my brain like a scream. What if Luke isn't mine? Would you want to know the truth, if the truth could destroy everything you love? The next morning, I couldn't even look at her. Emily made pancakes. Luke laughed as syrup dripped down his chin, and I sat there, holding my fork, pretending I wasn't dying inside. Every word she said sounded fake. Every smile felt rehearsed, but Luke, he was real. His giggle, his tiny hand tugging at my sleeve, his eyes blue, just like Emily's, but not like mine, not even close. I'd never questioned it before until now. The words from Cole's message haunted me. He doesn't even know about us. About Luke. What did he mean? Was Cole just being dramatic? Or was there something more? I couldn't let it go, and I couldn't ask Emily. Not yet. So I made a decision. I ordered a paternity test. One of those discreet kits, the kind you don't need a doctor for. It arrived in 2 days. Plain white box. No markings. Just instructions. That night, when Emily was out for drinks with the girls, I sat on Luke's bed. He was playing with his toy trucks, babbling about volcanoes and superheroes. I asked him if I could swab his cheek for a science experiment. He laughed, said I was weird, let me do it. Then he ran off to fight imaginary dragons. I stared at the swab like it held my entire soul, because it did. Packaged it, sent it out, and then came the waiting. 3 days. Every second dragged like hours. Emily didn't notice a thing. Or maybe she was just pretending not to. She'd gotten better at that lately. On the 4th day, the email arrived. Subject: your results are in. My hands shook as I opened it, scrolled past the intro, and there it was. Probability of paternity, 0 to 0%. 0. Nothing. Not even a chance. Luke. My Luke. Wasn't biologically mine. I stared at that number until the screen blurred. The sound of the world drained away. Everything went silent until the front door creaked open. It was Emily, shopping bags in her hand, smiling like the woman I thought I married. I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "We need to talk now." She froze. Her smile dropped like a mask, and just as she opened her mouth to speak, Luke ran in between us, holding a picture he drew. It was us, a stick figure family, me, Emily, and him, holding hands. He looked up and said, "Daddy, I drew us, the real us." I felt my heart shatter all over again. But Emily, she whispered just one thing. "You weren't supposed to find out like this." And that's when I realized this wasn't an accident. It was a secret she planned to never tell me. But why? What else was she hiding? And why did she look more scared than guilty? Then chapter 4 is where everything spirals. Emily didn't cry. She didn't scream. She didn't beg. She just sat down, carefully placed the shopping bags beside her, and whispered, "I was going to tell you. I just never found the right moment." I laughed. Cold, bitter, the kind of laugh that feels like it's coming from someone else's mouth. You had 5 years. I said 5 years of moments. She looked down at her hands and then finally met my eyes. It was just once, she said, just one night. It was before you and I got engaged. I didn't even know for sure Luke wasn't yours. I stepped back. That lie again, didn't know for sure. But she did know, or at least suspected, and she still chose silence. I asked her who the father was, and she said it. Cole, my best friend, my best man, the guy I trusted with my house, my life, and apparently my wife. I felt the blood drain from my face. Emily kept talking. She said they'd been drinking, that it meant nothing, that she'd wanted to take it to her grave. I asked her why she stayed, why she let me believe Luke was mine. And she said, because you're the only father he's ever known. And you're the only one who's ever wanted to be. She reached for my hand, and I pulled away. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. I needed air. I needed distance. So I left. I walked out the door and just kept going. I didn't even know where I was headed. My mind was on fire. Flashing back to birthdays, lullabies, first steps. All lies? Was I living a lie? Or was she the only lie? I found myself in the park. Same place where I used to take Luke when he was little. Same bench where he once fell asleep on my shoulder. That's when my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You're not the only one she lied to. My stomach dropped. Attached. A photo. Emily Cole. But not from 5 years ago. From last week. And they weren't arguing. They were kissing. In broad daylight. I zoomed in. The timestamp didn't lie. So her story was still going on. The betrayal wasn't in the past. It was now. And suddenly, I realized something worse. Maybe Luke wasn't the only secret. Maybe I never really knew Emily at all. But the question that hit hardest wasn't about her. It was about me. What would I do now? And who the hell sent me that message? Then Chapter 5 will uncover the real reason Cole was back in town. And why Emily never truly let him go. The message haunted me. You're not the only one she lied to. I stared at the photo again. Emily and Cole kissing like no time had passed. My pulse was pounding. I couldn't sleep that night, not with that picture burned into my skull. Not with the thought that the woman I built my life around was still tangled up with my best friend. Or ex-best friend. By morning, I wasn't just angry, I needed answers. I knew where Cole lived. A loft downtown. Smug, modern, and way too expensive for someone who supposedly worked in freelance marketing. I didn't knock. I banged. When he opened the door, he looked surprised, but not guilty, just tired. Jake. He said, you saw it. I didn't even ask what he meant, because he knew exactly what photo I'd seen. Why are you here? I asked, keeping my fists at my sides. Why are you still in this city? And why the hell are you kissing my wife? He stepped aside and gestured inside. I think you better come in. There's something you need to know. Against every instinct, I walked in. The place looked lived in, but not in a comforting way. More like chaos barely hidden under the surface. He poured 2 glasses of something. I didn't touch mine. Then he said it. Emily's not who you think she is. And I don't just mean the cheating. I narrowed my eyes. What does that mean? Cole pulled out a folder, old printouts, photos. 1 hospital discharge paper. All with the same name. Emily Matthews. Only the dates didn't line up. The photos weren't all of her. Some were younger, different hair, different state, but the same woman. He told me Emily had a whole past life before me. Another name, another husband. She vanished from that life 7 years ago. Faked a miscarriage, emptied a shared bank account, and disappeared, and no one heard from her again. Until she met me. My heart dropped into my stomach. Was I just the next guy? The new fool? And then Cole added something worse. She didn't just cheat on you, he said. She used both of us. What the hell are you talking about? I asked. He leaned in. Jake, you're not Luke's dad. But neither am I. My head snapped up. What? He pulled out a photo. Grainy. Security footage. It was Emily. with another man, holding hands, pregnant. Date: 8 months before Luke was born. The man? A stranger. Cole said he hired someone to track her last year. When he got suspicious, he thought she was lying to him. Turns out, she'd lied to everyone, including her own son, and just as my hands started to tremble. Not from anger, but from sheer confusion. Cole said one more thing: "I didn't send you that message." I froze. "Then who did?" He shook his head. "I thought it was you." Suddenly, everything felt wrong. If it wasn't him, and it wasn't me, who else knew? And why were they watching us? Then in Chapter 6, Jake uncovers a secret hidden inside his own home, one Emily hoped would never surface. Want to guess what it is? I drove home in a daze, the city outside the windshield blurred, but my thoughts were razor sharp. My entire marriage was now a question mark. Not just the love, not just the fidelity, but the identity of the woman I shared my bed with. When I got home, the house felt different, like it was holding secrets in the walls. I went straight to the bedroom and opened Emily's closet. Not the side she used every day, but the top shelf, the one she always said was just old stuff. I pulled down a heavy box. It was taped shut, sloppily, as if someone opened it recently and tried to cover it up. Inside, a second phone. My heart nearly stopped. It wasn't hers, at least. Not the one I knew. No case, no lock screen. Just one message on the screen. Still open. Can't believe he still hasn't figured it out. You're incredible. It was from a contact saved as M. My fingers trembled as I opened the photos. Each image stole my breath. Emily smiling, but not with me, with someone else. Multiple men. Different places. Different clothes. Some of the photos were recent. Some were years old. She had been living double lives. And then I saw it, a photo of Luke, with a man I didn't recognize. He had his arm around Emily. The three of them looked like a family, like a real one. My son, the boy I raised, laughing in the man's arms. The caption: "First day at the zoo. He already calls me Dad." I dropped the phone. I felt like vomiting, but something in the box caught my eye. At the bottom, under the clothes, under the old envelopes, there was a birth certificate. Luke's. Only, the father's name listed wasn't mine. It wasn't Cole's either. It was Matthew Kane. Never heard of him, but the name was familiar, and that's when it clicked. The contact in her secret phone. She wasn't just having an affair. She was building an entire life with another man. While still married to me, she had two families, one for the world and one she kept in the shadows. But then, why stay with me? Why lie? Why keep me around? And that's when I found the final envelope, unopened, addressed to Emily Davis. Not Matthews, not Kane, a third name. Inside was a letter, a legal notice, a hearing date. The letter said she was under investigation for identity fraud, and I wasn't her only target. Emily, or whatever her real name was, had conned people before, lovers, families, even entire companies, and I was just another chapter in her long-running story. The worst part? That court date was tomorrow morning, and she hadn't told anyone. She was planning to disappear, again, before the truth came out. But this time I was ready, or so I thought, because I still didn't know just how far she'd go to keep her lies hidden. Then Chapter 7. What happens when Jake shows up at the courthouse and Emily doesn't? Would you still confront her or vanish like she did? I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I sat on the edge of the bed, the birth certificate in one hand and the burner phone in the other. The silence of the house was unbearable. Every tick of the clock sounded like a countdown to something I couldn't name. At 8 a.m. I was already standing in front of the courthouse. I hadn't told anyone I was going. Not my friends, not my parents, not even my boss who thought I'd called in sick. I needed to see her. I needed to look her in the eyes and hear her say it. That she used me, that she lied about everything, that the baby, my son, wasn't even mine. But the minutes passed, and Emily never showed. 10 minutes late. 20. A woman at the reception desk checked the schedule for me twice. Yes, there was a court hearing for Emily Davis. Yes, it was today. Yes, the judge was waiting. But when her name was called, nothing. No one entered. Just me. The idiot standing there, sweating through my shirt, clenching his fists. Then, just as I was about to leave, a man walked in, sharp suit leather briefcase eyes scanning the room like he owned it. He came straight to me. "Are you Jake Matthews?" he asked. I nodded slowly. He handed me an envelope. "She asked me to give you this. Said if she didn't show up, you'd know why." I ripped it open. Inside was a handwritten letter. It wasn't long, just enough to make my stomach drop. "Jake, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. You deserve to know everything. But I won't be the one to tell you. You'll find the answers in Boston. Start with Matthew Kane. Don't trust anyone who says they knew me, not even your friends. Especially not your friends." "I'm sorry." My throat tightened. Boston? Matthew Kane? But the last line kept ringing in my head. "Especially not your friends." I stared at the man who gave me the letter. "What do you mean she asked you to give this to me? Who are you?" He smirked, but didn't answer. He just turned, walked out the doors, and disappeared into the city. I ran after him, but by the time I got outside, he was already gone, vanished like smoke. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just about Emily. This wasn't just a love affair gone wrong. This was a setup, and it started long before I ever met her. But who else was in on it? And why did she say not to trust even the people closest to me? Was someone feeding her information? Someone I knew? Or was I just the next name on a list? Then Chapter 8. Jake goes to Boston, but what he finds there is the last thing he expected. Who do you think betrayed him? Drop your guesses below. Boston looked nothing like home. The moment I stepped off the train, the air felt heavier, like I had just walked into a city that remembered every secret it ever held. And now I was about to dig one of them up. Matthew Kane. I didn't know who he was, didn't know what he meant to Emily, but I knew one thing. He was the first real clue in this twisted mess. I checked the address Emily had scribbled on the back of the letter. It led me to an old apartment building tucked between a laundromat and a pawn shop, the kind of place where names change faster than the locks. I rang the buzzer for apartment 3B. Nothing. Again, still nothing. Then, a voice, gravelly, suspicious. "Who is it?" I hesitated, then said, "Jake. Jake Matthews." Emily sent me. The intercom went dead. 5 long seconds passed. Then the door clicked open. I stepped into a dim hallway with flickering lights and peeling wallpaper. A man in his 50s opened the door to 3B. Tall, tired eyes, a scar down his right cheek. "You've got 5 minutes, he growled. I stepped in and instantly froze. On the wall behind him, photos, dozens of them, and in every single one, Emily. Different hair colors, different outfits, different cities. New York, Chicago, Dallas, and now Boston. But it wasn't just her. She was with other men, always smiling, always holding their hand. Matthew lit a cigarette and leaned against the counter. "You really thought you were special, didn't you?" I couldn't speak. "She does this," he said. "Exhaling smoke finds guys like you. Lonely, kind, gullible. What does she get out of it?" I finally asked. He tossed a file on the table. Inside, fake names, bank accounts, stolen IDs, flight tickets. "She's a con artist. Jake, the best I've ever seen." I staggered back, my stomach twisting. "The baby?" I whispered. He looked me dead in the eye. "There is no baby." Silence. She wore a prosthetic belly, used stock photos on social media, even photoshopped ultrasounds. I wanted to scream, punch something, but then Matthew said something that made my blood run cold. "She's not just playing you, she's being paid to do it." I froze. "By who?" I demanded. He reached for a dusty box and slid it across the table. Inside, surveillance photos. But not of Emily, of me, at work, at home, in my car, talking to friends, even one of me asleep on the couch. Someone hired her to destroy you, Jake, and they've been watching the whole time. My heart pounded. Why would anyone want to ruin my life? I had no enemies,
No secrets.
no power, or did I? Then Chapter 9. Jake returns home, but someone's already waiting inside. Who's pulling the strings behind the scenes? Could it be someone Jake already knows? Let's talk theories. I got off the train with shaking hands and a brain full of broken truths. The world looked different now, not just colder, but emptier, like trust had been ripped from it. I opened the door to my apartment slowly. The hallway was dark, too dark. I had turned off the lights before leaving, but the scent of fresh coffee lingered in the air, and someone had used my shower. The floor was damp, there was steam on the bathroom mirror, a single long strand of hair on the sink. Not mine, not Emily's. Then I heard it, a faint hum coming from the kitchen. I crept forward, each step louder in my head than the last, and then I saw him, a man, maybe in his 40s, sitting calmly at my kitchen table, drinking from my mug. He didn't flinch, didn't look surprised, in fact. He smiled. "Jake," he said, like we were old friends. I froze in the doorway. "Who the hell are you?" I demanded. He set the mug down, wiped his mouth with a cloth napkin, my napkin, and leaned back in the chair like he owned the place. "My name is Russell. I work in acquisitions. Let's say I manage assets like Emily." My heart dropped. "I'm not an asset," I spat, "and neither is she." He chuckled, though. "Jake, you really think this was about love?" He stood slowly, pulled something from his coat pocket, and slid it across the table. It was a manila envelope, thick. Inside were photos, documents, bank transfers. Emily's face was everywhere. So was mine. So was a company logo I hadn't seen in years. Cipher Core Technologies. "I don't work there anymore," I said, confused. I was a data engineer. I left after the downsizing. Russell nodded yes. "But not before you copied something you shouldn't have." I blinked. "What?" "You downloaded a folder on your last day. Something marked ArcNet 53. I tried to remember. I had backed up everything on my work laptop before they shut down my account. But ArcNet?
No clue.
You were targeted, Jake. Not because of who you are, but what you unknowingly had. I felt sick. Emily, the baby, the marriage, all of it. A setup? Was anything real? I asked. Russell paused. His smile faded. "That's what makes it hard," he said for her. "I think it became real." My chest tightened. "She's not who you think she is. But she wasn't supposed to care." Then he pulled out a remote and pressed a button. My TV flicked on. Surveillance footage from a camera I didn't even know was in my bedroom. Emily, sitting on our bed, crying, talking to someone on speakerphone. "I can't do it," she said in the video. "He trusts me." I didn't know he'd be like this. Russell hit pause. "You see, Jake? Even spies have hearts sometimes. But that makes them dangerous." He reached into his coat again, and this time placed a small black pistol on the table. "I need your help now. She's off script, and she's gone dark." I stared at the gun. "You want me to find her?" He nodded. "Or stop her before she finds them." My voice cracked. "Find who?" He looked me dead in the eye. "Her real family." And right then, my phone lit up. A message from an unknown number. No name, just 3 words. "She's coming back." Next chapter. Emily returns. But is she here to explain? Or end it all? Let's hear your theories in the comments. I didn't move for 10 minutes after reading the message. "She's coming back." 3 words, typed in cold digital silence, held more weight than a gun on the table or a stranger in my kitchen. Russell had already vanished. No sound, no door, just gone. Like he was never there. I checked the hallway empty. I checked the surveillance feed on my laptop camera static. It was like someone had wiped the feed in real time. And then, A key turned in the lock. Only I had locked the door, but it wasn't locked anymore. Emily stepped inside like nothing had happened, no fear in her eyes.
No hesitation.
Just a quiet calm, as if she'd rehearsed this entrance 100 times. She dropped her bag gently, looked at me, her eyes red, her voice broken. Jake, I never meant for you to find out like this. I didn't say a word. I just pointed to the TV, where the last paused frame still showed her crying, confessing, breaking. You lied to me every day, I said. She nodded slowly. I know. I loved you. I know, she whispered. And the baby? She looked down, and for the first time in weeks, I saw guilt. There is no baby. Jake, I staggered back. What? It was part of the op. It kept you connected, gave me a reason to stay close when things got complicated. You used me. No. She stepped closer. That was the plan. But somewhere along the way, I started to believe it. I fell for you, and that's why I ran. I wanted to scream. Instead, I whispered, "Then why are you back?" She looked over her shoulder, then back at me. "I'm being hunted. Russell isn't who you think he is." I froze. "What do you mean?" She moved to the kitchen table and opened the envelope he left behind. But inside, it was empty. "He wiped it clean," she said, trembling. "He's not an agent. He's a fixer. He erases people when they outlive their usefulness. And me, your leverage," she said, "or bait." We both heard it at the same time. The click of a second key in the back door. My building doesn't have a back door. Emily's face turned white. "We have to go now." She grabbed my wrist, but I pulled away. How do I know this isn't another part of the con? She looked me in the eyes, then handed me a flash drive from her pocket. "Because this is the truth. And once you see it, you'll know exactly why they want me dead, and why they'll never let you live." Before I could ask anything else, the window shattered. A smoke canister rolled across the floor. Alarms started wailing, but all I could see was her face, whispering one final word before everything went black. "Run." So what was on that flash drive? Did Emily actually betray him? Or was she the only one who tried to protect him all along? And who's really behind this, Russell, Cypher Core, or someone even higher up? Let me know in the comments. If you were Jake, would you run with her? Or finally walk away?